I want to thank everybody for being here. I love the manager panel discussions. And one reason I like them so much is I get to meet new people that I never met before and hear about the industry. Not that, Dawn, not that I don't appreciate you and the lawyers that I've been seeing for years, but it is, and Chris, I'm taking advantage, I'm taking you for granted because you have been on before, but it is nice to have some new people on here. I do like it. All right, with that being said, let me have our panel introduce themselves with who I see first, and that is Stacy.
Hi, I'm Stacy Jacobs, and I work with a management company here in Bluffton, South Carolina, IMC Resort Services Incorporated. I'm a CMCA, AMS, and I have been doing this for 30 years. And I'm glad to be a part of today.
We were just saying how beautiful it is down there in the Hilton Head, Bluffton area. It's a great place to visit. Chris.
I'm Chris Petrick. I'm the GM here at Bully Rock Community Association in Havre de Grace, Maryland, Northern Maryland. I've been in association management, gosh, for 14 years now, and known Ray for quite a while, known Don for a little while now. I haven't quite probably seen as many things as Stacy being in it for 30 years, but I've seen my fair share.
Well, I mean, you may have seen something today that I don't think Stacy probably saw. I think it's going to be incredibly unique, and we're going to definitely get to it really quick. You were going to speak nationally or something, right? You had a big, did you do your big speaking thing that you did?
Yeah, so that's actually my next speaking engagement is going to be in January at the law seminar in San Diego.
Wow, very impressive. Yep. All right, Dawn.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dawn Becker-Jernan, and I'm a CIRMS, which is a Community Insurance Risk Management Specialist. I've been practicing insurance for about 30 years. I don't want to admit that, but it's true. And I work with Acrisure. We're a national as well as international insurance firm. We provide property and casualty, employee benefits, as well as a host of other services. And we have insurance programs for community associations. I also serve on the CAI South Carolina Board of Directors.
So this was not clickbait. Chris's association was bombed by rocks, like 45 pounds, and there was damage everywhere. But I'm going to hold off on talking about it for about 20 minutes because we want to get to know Stacy a little bit and hear what Stacy has going on. And that being said, Chris, if I get so involved and I'm not paying attention, just kind of like give me a wave or send me a note. But I think I'm pretty good at keeping track of time and everything. Stacy, since you're new, can you tell us a little bit, like, what is the size of what kind of properties do you deal with?
Well, I am a portfolio manager, and so most of mine are HOAs. I do have one condominium complex that is within another association. I've got actually two that are in the association. So you've got the POA, and then you've got the separate regime that falls under that too. So right now, my largest property that I manage that we've had for many years is the farm at Buckwalter. It's 554 homes. So you know, that's a lot of people that, you know, like to email and talk, which is fine. But so we're right now going under a road rejuvenation project. So having to maneuver that can be a little tricky, blocking off roadways and whatnot, and parking for people. So that's one of the more concerns that I'm dealing with right now. I've got a property that won their litigation. It's a condominium complex, so I've been working with the board and with the contractors to get what they need to have done to get them back up to par. It's been a lot of time working with that. So.
All right. So luckily for you, everyone's very patient, right, when it comes to parking.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure they're probably like, Stacy, I understand 100%. It's not your fault. Just let me know what I can do to help you, right?
Oh, yeah, that comes in daily, yeah.
If anybody's in the audience ever had if anybody in the audience thinks that parking is one of the worst things to deal with as a manager, please let me know. I know for some people that it is. Chris, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit about your property.
Yeah, so Bully Rock, it is right now it's still under development. We have approximately a little over 1,400 homes now. At build out will be right around 2,000. We currently have between 3,500 and 3,800 residents. At build out will be between 6,500 and 8,000 residents. It's about 1,200 acres in size. We're also attached to a golf course. Luckily, I do not manage the golf course. We do a lot of things with the golf course, but it's actually the #1 public golf course in all of Maryland. I think it's number 42 or 43 in the U.S. Number of major events here. But yeah, I mean, kind of, with what you guys were talking about with Stacy, parking, clearly, that we have an actual covenants coordinator here that drives around the community. Her entire job is just finding violations or potential violations, and at the end of the year, she gets the least amount of Christmas cards.
Yeah,
for sure.
I would imagine. I don't know what's worse, doing that or being like the meter person in the city. I'm not really sure. So it seems pretty tough. So you know what I like to do, Stacy, if you don't mind, and you may not have one because you have no warning what we're going to talk about today. I promise. It's right, Dawn. Nothing to worry about though, right? Okay. Have you ever had a unique, unexpected challenge? And if you want a minute to think about it, by all means, because sometimes people don't have one. Sometimes one jumps right out. If something ever came up that was unique and unexpected.
I don't know if it would be unique. It just seems like, we learn something new every day, that's for sure. It doesn't matter how long you've been in this industry. There's always something unique and unexpected that comes around. But as far as anything that stands out to me right now, I don't even know if I want to talk about it or not, but I know at one of my properties one time that had a tow company that was actually, I wouldn't say employed, but contracted to just come at their free will and deal with issues on the property, parking and whatnot. Another parking issue, became an alteration between a homeowner and that tow company, and someone was shot and killed.
At the property you were managing?
Is that unique and unexpected for you?
Yeah, and that's the property you're managing?
I used to manage the property, yes. We are now managing it again, different board. But we specifically had informed that previous board at that time that we did not condone the tow company coming in and just randomly towing vehicles because it could be dangerous. And they decided to do it on their own, or to take it upon themselves to go ahead and move forward with it. And that's what the outcome was. That happened on Christmas Eve. That happened on Christmas Eve, by the way.
You know what's scary is if you're willing to shoot the tow truck operator over your car, I mean, I hate to say it, it's easy to get mad at the manager, right? It's not it's only a couple steps away. That's why I think this industry you just don't know who you're dealing with. That's pretty scary.
And being in this industry as long as I have, I'm a face-to-face communicator. I don't mind going up to people's doors and knocking on their doors and, hey, instead of just sending them a violation, if they normally weren't violators, it's nice to get out and meet people, but it's just getting scarier and scarier every day to do that in person.
I know a lot of managers that will take someone with them now, the maintenance guy, or they actually wait. If they're a smaller community, they'll wait for the landscaping company to come by or something like that, and they'll walk around and visit people with another individual, which I think is a good idea. Dawn, I don't want to get sidetracked here, but towing is a very complicated issue, I think, insurance-wise, and we don't have an attorney, but the states have a lot of laws, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. The towing, the enforcement of the parking beforehand, right? That's the issue. Then the towing company, do they cause damages to their car, cause damages to the common areas? But I just want to back up really quick. We are seeing a lot of communities that are being impacted with violence and threats against the manager, against the board, and against homeowners themselves. So a lot of communities are looking into active assailants and or crisis management type policies. Those are really inexpensive for what they provide. And they also provide the support, meaning something happened, how do we deal with it afterwards? And I think Stacy mentioned it was Christmas Eve. So I can imagine that there was a lot of upset people. And that's the type of situation that not only do we want to deal with what happened and someone's injuries, but how do we also relay messages to our homeowners and make sure everybody feels safe?
Mm-hmm.
It's terrible that we have to have insurance policies now that are just like for these particular types of items that I guess that they could happen. Just awful. Chris, I'm skipping you on this one because I know your topic today of having your association bombed by rocks. Really quick, can you top it? Can you give me another unexpected challenge that was worse than the one you're dealing with now? for
Well, I don't know
unexpected.
if I can top that. I mean, kind of maybe a funny, unique situation. The previous location that I was managing before Bully Rock was a luxury high-rise building where a lot of like Orioles players and Ravens players and like top like Under Armour executives live there. At the time that I was there, I don't know if you guys know who Manny Machado is. He plays for the San Diego Padres. He played for the Orioles at the time. He lived there, and we had this resident that literally every time he knew that Manny was going to be in the building, he dressed up like an umpire and would berate him and tell him how horrible he was. And he would always, go up to him and like give him like the sign, like you're out. And like I come to find out later, this particular resident, he may have had a couple marbles loose, clearly. But his whole goal was to get Manny to physically assault him so he could sue him. So that was the end game, but it never happened.
You got to give him credit. Okay, the
Yeah.
umpire out, and I like his tagline, like you're out. I mean,
Yeah.
he must have been a little bit entertaining for you
100%.
and terrifying.
Yes. Same time.
Really quick, I don't want to spend too much time on it. What was the end result? Did he just fade away on his own, or did some action be taken?
Manny got traded.
Oh, and that solved it. It was just him.
It was just him.
Interesting. Because there's so many people you could do. Okay. Oh,
Yep.
oh boy. I'd like to ask people, Stacey, can you give me what an item is that people seem to get the most confused about? Maybe, I don't want to put you on the spot with your board members, but let's do residents, right? Is there one thing when I throw that at you, that comes to your mind? What are people the most confused
They get
about?
confused about the ARB process and why they have to do this and that, and why do I have to supply this? What they don't realize is there's certain items that are requested or required to perform the ARB process. One, we need to make sure that what they're doing is within their property lines, and how it affects anybody else that is around them. So that's usually the most confusion, especially if it's more in depth, like putting in a pool, setback lines from a lagoon and things like that. So that's where people mostly get confused.
I don't understand, Stacey. Didn't they have all this information available when they did the HOA?
Exactly.
It's almost like they had no.
I don't want to say anything bad, but it seems like, they never get anything at closing, from what I understand.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. I've had owners tell me, I didn't know that I bought into an HOA.
Yeah.
How do you not know that?
Exactly. Well, it lies in the hands of the realtors. I think, the realtors need to be more forthcoming, but again, I understand their position. They don't want to lose a sale, but that's where it comes down to for me.
I mean, but think about it as a buyer, when you're buying a home, it's one of the largest investments that you'll ever make. You also need to do your research at,
Absolutely.
what you're buying into.
It comes up a lot. I mean, I get comments about this all the time, probably every other live stream, about how people don't understand what they're moving into, or the guy that starts doing his own landscaping, right?
Yeah.
So, Chris, how about an important tool? What do you think is one of your most important tools? Now, don't say your overwhelmingly charming personality. That's not going to be acceptable. What's one thing you can't live without?
I would say for me, it's communication. I would much rather be accused of over communicating than not communicating enough. There's a lot of times where there will be something that happens in the community, and I will tell you what, I get more questions from people on the other side of the community that are not impacted than those that were impacted. Because I mean, you guys all know it's like that telephone game that you play in school, right? Like it comes back to me completely different than what the actual story is. So I've just learned that I need to get in front of things. I need to communicate really, really well, really often. I don't want to get in the weeds. I don't want to give particulars because that's when you get yourself in trouble. But just enough information to where the rumor mill, doesn't, do damage.
Stacey, what is one of your most important tools? And could I take communication away? Would that be okay? Even though that may have been
Well,
was
that's
that
one
your
of
first
my
guest?
big key points is my communication.
I know. That's the
My
common.
important tools is I'm kind of I'm a stickler. I have, I live in the country, so I've never lived in an HOA. I manage them. I don't want to live in one.
Right.
And I keep all my yard up. I have an acre of land. I do everything on my own. No husband, no children. So the important tool for me is compliance within a neighborhood, because it affects values of homes, the aesthetics, the curb appeal, everything. And, to me, that's a major tool to keep up with that and not allow people, I wouldn't say to get away with, things like that, but you have to make sure that you stay on it and that you're being true to it and you're not being, picking on anybody, so I feel like, that's one of the biggest tools.
Chris, and I'll go to you too, Stacy, and I don't want to get sidetracked, but what method of mass or group communication do you find gets the best results? I'll start with Chris from the audience.
I mean, for us, we send out a Friday update every single week, and we let owners know exactly what's going on in the community. I mean, clearly, email blasts are great, but we have a very, very high percentage of folks that actually open the Friday update email. So that's where we put the majority of the really important information. I mean, clearly, unless it's an emergency. But yeah, the Friday updates.
Stacy, amen. I send out emails, obviously. I send them out the same day, the same time every week.
Yeah.
What is your method that you find works best in regard to communication? What tool do you use?
We do use the e-blast as well. Goes to the community. Just like today, I kind of backtracked a little bit and thought to myself, okay, well, I'm doing this road rejuvenation project. We've got day 1, day 2, day 3 showing where everything's going to be roped off and those roads are going to be closed off. So we started using the MGC, which is my green condo, and it has a community calendar on there. And so I've gone on there for each of the days and put in there a community event as a maintenance program, and showing what roads are going to be done on that day, and did it for all the days that we're going to have that project going on, and also included it in a group, which will go to all the homeowners, and I put it in as a daily reminder to everybody. So I was able to put an alert on there that it would resend that daily, so everybody remembers exactly what day their area is going to be done.
You know what, Dawn, I think we get the best managers on here. We do. And I think we have the best audience too, because they wouldn't be here, right, if they didn't care about learning. I think communication, I find every one of them does exactly what Stacy and Chris do. They're just really good at getting ahead of things by communicating. Yeah. Do you find the same thing? I mean, you've been on hundreds of these.
I do. I also find that we get involved from an insurance aspect with claims when there is a lack of communication, because we'll see lack of transparency. That's what we hear most often. And we'll hear, I didn't know that. It wasn't reported to us. We asked, we didn't get information. No one tells us anything. And so those aspects, when you look into a management team that is providing constant communication, has resources that are available in organized detail. So for example, a website with links, where are the documents? Where is the ARB rules? Where are our rules and regulations? Can we lease? Can we rent? All of those things, super important. And if someone has much easier, readily accessible documents, they're least likely to bother the management team because it's there, they can read it. And then if they have questions, they can, of course, follow up, because a lot of those management teams will put their contact information. Okay, you didn't find it here, call us. And they're more apt than to have that better synergy. Okay,
so a lot of comments from the audience. Most of them are pretty common. A good trait for a manager is to be able to de-escalate an irate homeowner. Yep, we were just talking about that yesterday in the live stream. We think that's going to be a lot more training in the future for managers in regard to that, based on what everyone is saying. People are just getting nastier. I have created flip books and include them in my email signature of the documents, but people still don't read them. Yeah, I send a lot of emails out to people, right, Dawn? And nobody ever reads them. They come to me at the events and they're like, you never told me. I post on a community sign and hand deliver some flyers to people. I want to jump off this topic, but I will tell you, in my high-rise community here, signs, people read them. I don't. I don't, but people go for those signs. I guess it depends what kind of community you have, right? Stacy, I mean, do you have a common area where, yeah, do you use signs?
We do have a letterboard at each of our entrances where you can see it when you're exiting for the most part, but people still don't read them, or they're just passing by and not even paying attention. And, it is what it is, but the communication is there. I also have like a cork board, a closed enclosure over by the community clubhouse where the pool is, that I update all of the ARB colors, processes, and things like that. And still, it doesn't really grab their attention.
Yeah, I mean, I call it sign blindness.
Yeah.
There's so many signs that people just don't even acknowledge them anymore.
Yeah, we have a lot of signs here. I would say there's almost like too many signs.
I just want to add real quick, one of my favorite things, and I think I talked about that, I saw this in Myrtle Beach. There was a board election going on in a community, and they had printed the faces of the board members that they wanted to elect, and the ones that they didn't want to elect had they had X's over them. But I thought I noticed it, right? And I also thought it was kind of creative because they were showing the faces of the board members that they wanted to elect. And I said, oh, well, maybe someone would recognize them or know them because they're getting a face. And they were pretty big faces. I thought it was pretty comical.
What? Is this put out by the people running for election at the association? Didn't put it out?
They printed out faces and put them on sticks.
The association?
No, the homeowner, and said,
okay.
elect these people,
All right.
but don't elect these.
I got nervous. I thought the association was doing
Oh,
it.
no, not the HOA board,
Okay.
but I don't know if they were a board member. Maybe they were.
Man, I'm never running against you. Who knows what you're going to put a picture of me with a big X across my face. Who knows? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what Chris has going on. Now, Chris, I'm going to show some pictures first. Let's not say anything. I think the pictures will. Stacy, do you have any idea what we're going to be talking about?
No.
Okay, let's see what maybe Stacy's reaction is. There's 5. That's a rock. That's a big, giant rock. Chris, some of them don't get too deep into it, but some of them were 45 pounds, right?
Yes.
Okay. And a human being didn't put it there. Chris, that's somebody's attic.
Well, that's looking up from, I believe that's the shot looking up from the basement.
You still probably haven't figured it out yet, right? Well, you're getting the theme of it, Stacy, right?
Yeah, apparently you had some rocks coming down from a boulder, from a mountain of some sort.
All right, so look at the size of this hole and look at the size of these rocks. And we weren't like doing clickbait here. Chris, take breaks in between telling us a story so we can ask you questions, but start off and tell us, set the tone of how bad this was and what happened.
Well, just, some background, like I said, Bully Rock is a developing community, and it's, it's not called Bully Rock because we have a lot of rock. It's actually, Bully Rock was the first thoroughbred racehorse that was brought to America. And all of our street names are, winners of Triple Crown. But with that being said, there have been many, many controlled blasts and explosions that the builder and the developer has had to do over the years, right? And primarily because we have a lot of really, really strong like rock underneath the surface here. And in order to clear a particular parcel, we like we do every time, we send out notification to the residents, because the developer will give us information on when this blast is supposed to occur, and just to let the residents that are close know what's going on. I mean, honestly, 99% of the time, if the blast is done correctly, you don't necessarily even feel anything, and you barely hear anything. Just because it's, yeah.
I hope that 99% of the time that this doesn't happen. But go ahead. We're going to assume that 99% of the time this is not the situation.
Yeah. So this particular instance, happened to be Friday afternoon, around 3 o'clock, and great week. I was expecting to go into the weekend. Just nothing really on my mind, just getting out of work. And I knew the blast was going to occur. The blast was being done on a parcel that's maybe a quarter to not even a half a mile away from, or maybe a quarter mile from where the residence club is here, where my office is. And I'm in my office working, and I feel this earth-shattering, just boom. Things come flying off the walls. The entire this is a 40,000 square foot building. The entire thing shakes. And thinking to myself, I don't think that that's supposed to happen. And so immediately our phones start ringing. I have residents that are out on our sun deck, just saying that the building shook, and so that's when I knew something went wrong.
But you didn't know. So you said, people are asking me, you said it was a quarter mile away?
Yeah, probably between an eighth and a quarter of a mile away.
Okay, so that's pretty far.
Yeah.
And the rocks were up to 40, and this is all over the news, everybody, by the way. And you said some of the rocks were 45 pounds.
Yeah.
You know how heavy a 45-pound rock is? I mean,
Yeah.
that's like a bowling ball, right?
Yeah.
Heavier, way
Yeah.
heavier than a bowling ball. That is, and the rocks went through multiple layers. It went through people's roofs, through their second floor, through a kitchen counter, and then landed in the foundation. Correct?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, that particular rock. I mean, you know, again, sending out notification to residents on a particular street across from a parcel that's being developed, letting them know that there's going to be an explosion. You'd be shocked to learn how many people were out there outside wanting to watch the explosion. Okay, so with that being said, we actually got a couple of really good videos of what had happened. And this one video in particular,
people are getting a little bit upset. Nobody got hurt. I just want to cut right to that part.
No,
we're not talking, just to let the audience know, no one got hurt. What we're talking about, no one was injured. So
our conversation would be drastically different if that were the case. So yeah, this one video in particular, you watch it, you see the blast, it's going very, very well the first half. The second half, you just hear this loud bang, and you can see rocks and boulders just flying into the air as high as you can see. And so this particular instance where this one rock had gone through, it was about, I think this one was 42 pounds, gone through the roof, just missed their solar panels, through the granite countertop, through the floor, into the basement, missed the woman in her home by 5 feet. Okay, so
this video, is it like an action movie? Are people like screaming and running away like, oh my God,
yeah,
like
so
your Blue Rock, hold on a second, your Blue Rock community signs in the background, and like, come to Blue Rock and live great. In the meantime, you got this video out here. If you're like, running for their lives.
I mean, it was more of a, the reactions from people were more of like a shock, like what just happened. And so I mean, at the end of the day, we had over 20 homes that were impacted with rocks, very, very large to, smaller rocks going through windows, going through roofs, damaging multiple vehicles, damaging our tennis court, damaging, you walked around the area and it was like you were seeing meteorites everywhere.
Right. How many people are asking me? Well, first, let me do this. Stacy, what is like your reaction to this? Did you ever think something like this would happen to a manager? Have we actually surprised a manager?
Well, I tell you what, since we're in the low country here, that doesn't seem to happen in our area. We're in the we're pretty flat around here. But yeah, that would be a little scary, that's for sure. Being that we don't even deal with snow and ice really, but rarely we deal with it here in this area. One of the condominium that I was telling you about earlier, they have metal roofs, And we had a pretty good freeze. I guess it was earlier in the year. And the lady had her car or truck, she had like a Toyota Tacoma parked in the street, which they're allowed to park in those spaces there. And the ice let loose, came down and crushed her vehicle, went through the windshield, all the way through her car, or through the moonroof. I mean, it was like something very unexpected for this area. So yeah, that was kind of.
Next time she complains, send her this photo and tell her it
Yeah.
could be worse. She could be living in Chris's absolutely beautiful neighborhood that never has any problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
Chris, people are asking me, do you have a count on the impacts? And then I want to go to Dawn. I want to let Dawn kind of catch, but do you have a count? How many actual reported impact sites were there?
Yeah, I believe right now the current number is 21 or 22, and that's just structures. So I mean that doesn't include like personal property like vehicles. I mean again to give you an idea of how large this became, with that being on one side of the residence club, which like I said is about a quarter of a mile away. We were seeing damage to homes on the other side of the residence club, which was over a third of a mile away. Okay. So we had rocks hitting homes on the other side of the residence club, which was that's a long ways.
Okay. So let me just go through the steps here pretty quickly with you so we can get an idea for the pace, and then we're going to go to Dawn. Stacy, before I do that, is there any question that you want to ask Chris from a manager's perspective about this? What do you think was the biggest hassle in all this? Do you have a guess?
I'm sure people wanted to find out, insurance wise, who's responsible, you know, and how are they going to get their property taken care of? I didn't catch it, Chris, but is the people that were blasting, was that your community or another?
Hold on a second, Chris, don't get ahead of us. First of all,
sorry.
we know it was Chris's fault. Let's be honest, right? He's the manager.
Yep,
So,
of course.
you know, it's 100% Chris's fault and his responsibility that this happened, because managers get blamed for everything. All right, really quick, Chris, there's a couple of facts I want to get through, and then I want to go to Dawn, and then we'll go back. All right, so this incident takes place, your phone rings, you know that there's been this incident. Your first thing is what? Do you walk the property for yourself to see what's going on, or do you hunker down? Okay. How quickly do you have an idea of actually what happened? How long did that take?
It took me probably 20 to 25 minutes to get over there, just because I was dealing with residents that were here at the residence club. I get over there, and you know there's a number of residents just standing on the street. Right. You see the crew of the blast company rapidly cleaning up all of the evidence off of the streets, removing rocks off of cars, trying to get rid of all of the evidence very, very quickly.
Go
ahead.
How long did it take you I'm reading what people are asking me here too. How long did it take you to find out no one was injured?
It probably took maybe 15, 20 minutes just to make sure, because I wanted to make sure that I went to every home close by that was impacted and talk to those residents directly.
There's a lot of questions. I want to try to fly through them if we can. What was the response of the emergency personnel? Was that overwhelming for? I want to keep the answer short if we can.
Yeah. So the city of Havre de Grace. So the city of Havre de Grace is not a gigantic city. When there's not a lot going on in the city, and something happens here, everyone shows up. City Hall was here. The entire fire department was here. The entire police station was here. It was DEFCON 5. Yeah.
Two people are asking this, did you find a lot of the focus was on yourself as a manager, or did you, and I'm going to add to this, did you feel a little bit overwhelmed, or not overwhelmed? Did you feel like there was too much focus on you? Because this is a little bit outside your realm at this point. Do you agree? Like, what was your initial feeling? Because you didn't expect this, right?
I mean, clearly this is not something that managers typically go through. This was not on my bingo card for a Friday afternoon. It was one of those things where, you know, emergency type situations, you know, I've been through a lot of losses like floods and fires and things like that. So I think muscle memory kind of kicked in as far as just the emergency part of it, trying to get everything in order, trying to make the phone calls to the insurance, to, you know, my bosses, to the board, to the committees. To let everyone know what had actually happened.
So you left at some point. Really quickly, how long were you out there for before you went back to your office?
Probably at least an hour to
Okay.
an hour and a half.
All right. So after about an hour and a half, you went back to your office and then you immediately started the entire process of making phone calls. Really quick question. Who did you call first?
Insurance.
Okay. Let Dawn get in here. Okay. Dawn, do you want to jump in now or do you want Chris to kind of talk about where he is with the insurance really quickly? Or do you feel like you have enough information to kind of hop in here?
Let's hear what Chris has to say.
All right,
about
Chris,
it.
tell us, let's skip ahead. I'll assume, where are you right now exactly with this situation?
Okay, so I'll tell you that the biggest thing for me after that, my most important thing that I wanted to get accomplished was a note out to the community to let them know what was going on as well after I made all my important phone calls, letting them know what I knew, because again, this was on the developer's property that has not yet been transferred to the association. So this, it was nice in a way that it wasn't necessarily my fault like everything else is. And so my big thing was I wanted to get communication out to the residents. I wanted to, one, find out who was actually responsible for it. And then, from there, I found out, who their insurance carrier was. I reached out to their insurance carrier, and of course, their carrier is going to say, oh yeah, we will make you whole. We're so sorry. It's our fault.
Right.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm not a collection agent. Okay. So
We got it.
So yeah. So, my insurance company, even though again, it wasn't our fault, we filed the claim and we let them subrogate. We let them battle it out. And, part of the process as well was all of the owners that were impacted were like, okay, well, where do we go? What do we do? Who do we contact? So go ahead.
But you said that it wasn't part of your association. So people are asking me, why are you involved in this then?
Well, it
Some
is
of your
our,
property.
this parcel is located within Bully Rock. This is a parcel that will be transferred over to Bully Rock. So,
Okay.
so it's simply the developer, building on this particular parcel to build the homes. Once those homes are built and sold, the parcel comes over, is transferred to the association.
Maybe you could, Donald, why is Chris dealing with his insurance company if none of the property took place on any of the, go ahead. What's that?
I'm so glad you asked, because we have that happen oftentimes where a third party has caused damage to the common areas. It could be somebody driving through the entrance monument, somebody driving through your gates, driving a vehicle through a building, or in Chris's case, an explosion that occurs that causes damages. If the damages have occurred to common and or limited common elements and or buildings that the association is maintaining or insuring, then it would be best for the association, as Chris pointed to, send the claim to their insurance carrier. And as he mentioned the word subrogation, the carrier, if they deem that there is a third party that they can go after to recoup any expenses or costs and to reimburse the deductible and also the full amount of the claim and defense costs, they will. Now, oftentimes in a community, we cannot subrogate against a homeowner, but again, we can subrogate against third parties. So what Chris did was to advise his carrier that this happened. If there is any physical damage, because the property insurance is first party, absent the deductible, the association should be made whole to any damages. Now, you did mention the residents. In those cases, the residents should be contacting their personal insurance carriers, whether it's their home, their auto, or whatever it may be. But I think one of the points that Chris mentioned was that he had been able to wrangle this information and start the process. So Chris is a great vehicle for the other homeowners to say, Chris, can you give us that information? And it will help expedite their claims process.
Ooh, that's a really good point. Stacy, really quick, because I know you kind of jumped on our first one with us here today and we got like a big topic to talk about, but anything you wanted to ask really quick or before I rush Chris. I feel bad, Chris, because it's a big story and there's a
No,
lot
you're
to
good.
tell, but I'm watching our time. Stacy, anything to add or ask Chris?
No, I totally agree with what Chris done, and that's to make sure, anytime anything happens on your property is to make that incident report, get everything filled out completely, the best that you can to your knowledge, and get it to your insurance company and put them on alert that something has happened. Either it's going to be, even if it doesn't fall under your insurance, at least you've got it documented. So documentation is the biggest part of it for me.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Chris,
And one of the things that I'm sorry, Ray, real quickly, just on that on the note that I was talking about earlier, the communication to the residents, I wanted to make sure, one thing that I always try and do when I send out communication like that is I want to try and answer all the questions that I think people are going to have before they're asked, right? So this is who you contact. You need to file a claim with your insurance company. They will subrogate the loss with the blast company's insurance carrier to make you whole. So I wanted to give everyone as full of a picture as I possibly could up front, so it would make my life and my staff's life a lot easier moving forward.
it seems like you did the very thing that Dawn, as a professional insurance rep, thought you should have done. I mean, people don't realize, like, you are a very well experienced manager, Chris, and you speak nationally. So I think your community lucked out, and I'm sure Stacy would have done just a great job too. Having boy, Dawn, what a difference it makes, right? Having an experienced manager. I mean, there could have been so many mistakes made here.
Well,
But
Chris's documentation is essential. Anytime a claim happens, people change, right? Meaning the management team can change. The people who are there can move out of the community. Your witnesses are no longer available. So when it happens, you have that knowledge and write it down while it's fresh. Keep those notes, photographs, video, social media posts, whatever it might be, copies of contracts, proof of insurance. Keep a file for that. You just never know in the future when it may be necessary to recall that information. And when it's written, that is what can be used in court. We don't want to get to court and say, I don't know, maybe.
so, Stacy, I'm going to start asking Chris now about like some of the emotion aspects of this. And don't worry, Chris, I'm going to leave you time to kind of wrap up here too. I'm just watching the time here. I think, Stacy, this is going to be something that could be hard on managers, right? Because you care about your community, you're human beings. You like the majority of the residents, and they cannot. Would you agree, Stacy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you form bonds with a lot of your people that you work with, whether it be your staff or your homeowners. And it is a big ordeal when somebody's personal property gets damaged in the way that Chris's property's owners got damaged, and also so unexpectedly with no possible idea that that's coming through, a 45-pound rock coming through your ceiling, or your roof and coming through 2 or 3 floors. I mean, it's a scary situation. So,
Chris, I want you to share with the audience, if you're comfortable, how you handled this. Was this stressful for you, just for the fact all the damage that took place? I'm not saying that you were stressed out like you didn't know what you were doing, but what were your feelings? Like, go through some of your emotions, because if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, I mean, clearly, the first emotion is like shock, and secondly, I think for me, something that I've learned over the years is when things like this happen and you build those bonds and relationships with residents, and something tragic occurs, an emergency type situation, loss, you have to show that empathy, right? I mean, it didn't necessarily impact me personally, but when people are talking to me and talking to our staff, and they're crying and they're distraught and they're worried, it brings that human side really into it, as opposed to, we're so used as managers to every day, we are in a routine, we're doing this, and this, and then something completely out of the ordinary happens, and it rocks you to your core, right? I mean, it's not something that you are used to going through. And my staff did an excellent job fielding phone calls and residents coming in, that were having questions and worried. And I mean, I had residents that had to like check themselves into the hospital because they were having like PTSD from the incident. And so with that, the empathy part of it, as managers, it's hard sometimes, but we always have to stay right here all the time. We cannot go like this, and we have to be the calming force. We have to be the common, we have to ground everything, because people are looking to us to lead the community out of this situation. And so yeah, and then it turned, of course, to a little bit of anger, honestly, because I was like, whoever's responsible for this, they're going to pay for it, and worry, of course, when I didn't know if someone was injured or killed, and I had a long conversation the very next day. It was on a Saturday. I came in early. I met with the developer. We called the owner of the blast company, telling us this has never happened before and giving us some excuses. And I'm like, listen, like, own it, man. Like, that's all you got to do. If you own it, it will get you so much further than trying to give us excuses. And he ended up owning it. And, we're trying to set up a town hall right now with the community, but we can't do anything until the fire marshal gives us his final report.
Chris, what advice do you have for managers though? Like, how did you handle it? You must have, you could have just ran like a maniac and just gone through everything. Like, you must have taken some breaks or did some kind of self-care for yourself, right? Because I think I'm really glad you brought up the point. Some of the residents, even though no one was injured or killed, we could sit here and say, what's the big deal, right? But people felt like they could have been killed, and that was enough to send some to the hospital.
Yeah.
That gets transferred to you. What did you do as a human being to make sure that you were staying level?
Just again, those updates to the community to let them know that we were on top of it, and also setting up those clear and realistic expectations, right? In the correspondence that goes out, because of course we know, and we've tried to express and explain to folks that this did not happen on necessarily association property yet, right? I mean, the developer still owns it. It will be our property, but some owners don't understand that difference, right? Like, the association, the HOA, we did not hire the blast company to do this, right? So people that don't understand the situation and how it actually works, I feel bad for like my assistant manager and some of my other staff, my front desk, because they were getting bombarded with people yelling at them because they thought that this was our fault, that we did this, that we caused that. And, just getting past that and getting people to understand that that was not the case was difficult.
Do you mind if I say something real quick, Ray?
Yeah, please. I was going to ask you to comment about, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was going to give kudos to Chris stating that, his staff did so well with answering the calls. And it's important when something like that happens is to share this with your staff, because nobody wants to call an office and hear, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know anything about it. And just have it all on the manager. So the more that you give your staff and the right staff that the information is directed to can, alleviate some of the stress onto the manager themselves. So I have
100%. I couldn't do what I do. I couldn't do what I do at all without such a great staff.
Yeah.
Stacey, I'm going to jump back to Chris on this, but one thing that impresses me too is I don't think people understand, unless you're in this business, that people get mad and angry and there's no rational thought to it, right? Like, I believe Chris, I could picture it right now. People have to yell at someone. They go down to Chris's office. They're yelling at his staff. It doesn't matter that he has, obviously you could tell that Chris wasn't in charge of the explosion. Anybody knows that Chris isn't in the explosion business. But people are irrational, right, Stacey? And unless you're in this industry, Chris, what did you do to support your staff? Because this is a lot of abuse, right? This is a lot of unfair abuse directed at them. Who supported your staff? How did that work? Did you do it?
Yeah. So, I mean, we actually had really, really great support, not only, from me and from, the rest of our First Service Residential Management team, from the board. I mean, the board was extremely supportive. The committees that were involved were very supportive because, think about it. The board and the committees, they know a lot of the inside information. And, when they're out in the community, my big thing is I never want them to be surprised by a question a resident gives them. So I want them to be able to answer questions as well. So it was very, very helpful that my committees, my board, the staff could answer those questions, because again, at the end of the day, we were simply a catalyst in all of this. We were trying to bridge the gap. We were trying to help owners figure out, the best next steps, and, also, deal with the claims process on our side.
Dawn, jump in here.
Well, actually, in our insurance applications, there's several national companies that specialize in community associations. In their underwriting questions, how does the community respond after a dramatic event? Written notification, e-blast, all of that. Why is that essential? Why does the underwriter care? Because how you manage an incident afterwards is a true testimony to claims that could appear afterwards for not doing certain things. And that quarterbacking that happens afterwards is where we can learn and we can make adjustments. I think what Chris and Stacy have pointed out is that pre-planning and having a path forward is going to be important to determine prior to an incident, meaning knowing who your contacts are, how to contact them, and what resources do you have available, whether it's locally, regionally, nationally, from not only the manager's perspective of their team, but to support the residents. And I'm sure Chris probably put together, which most communities tend to do in these events, a blurb about what happened, when it happened, what the next steps are. And as Chris pointed out, that follow-up is really essential. If you can, and I love that he put this out, manage expectations, that is where we see a lot of the boards come together with their community. That creates a much more positive outcome. Again, managing expectations can be just, hey, we're not going to have more details until next week, or we expect this to occur next month.
I think also what I keep coming to my mind, if you didn't have an experienced manager like Stacy or Chris, how bad this could have turned out for the association, just for the stress level for the board members and for the residents. It could have just been a mess on so many levels. I think, Stacy, do you agree? Chris should be really proud of the job that he did on this. And I think this is what we're talking about here. And you've been into business a long time, Stacy. You said how long?
30 years.
30 years. I think we're talking here, we're seeing the difference between an experienced manager and an inexperienced manager. Do you agree, Stacy?
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that. And sounds like, Chris, you've been in it for 15 years. You've got an assistant manager with you, and everybody's looking to you. What do we do? What do we do? And it's very important that you keep your cool and keep your head on straight and be able to, direct your staff to be able to help you out. And then that's the most important thing, is making sure that the people that you work with are trained properly. And being the experienced managers, we get new managers all the time. It's a difficult position to hold. It is a very difficult position to hold because you're expected to be a jack of all trades, and we're masters of none, but we operate well under stress. And that is a major, major ordeal for a manager, is to be able to, it's almost like something happens and you jump right to it, because it seems like all of a sudden your brain goes into that mode and
right.
Into the crisis mode. And so I think that Chris has learned a lot from this experience, and it can only get better for him from here. So.
Well, let's not praise Chris too much. We don't want his head to get. I'm thinking of a couple of ways I could make a couple comments and bring them down to earth before we wrap up. Chris, I'm going to save you for last. Okay, so just give me a second. Dawn, closing thoughts, because I want to be Chris.
What the real consensus here is that having some type of pre-plan to how we respond is going to be really important. We're out of pool season right now, everyone. So let's start thinking about disaster planning and putting together our list of who we contact. So if Chris isn't available, what would his assistant manager have done? Having those type of pre-planning parameters set up are so beneficial, and it will help people keep calm. I spent over 20 years in the fire service, and one of the classes that I had to take in order to become an officer was incident command. And they talk a lot in incident command. Take yourself out of the situation, put yourself far away, and now look in and think about all of the encompassing items and what you may have to plan for. You may need professionals to assist you, but there is a lot of resources that you can gather, and it can be a very simple process that will save you hours.
We don't have time, Stacy, but I would have been dying to, like, Chris would have said that his office staff would have handled it, which I'm sure, but I'm thinking, like, I wonder what would have happened if Chris wasn't there, what his day would have been like the next day coming in. Anyway, Stacy, closing thoughts.
No, I mean, closing thoughts is, there's always going to be something thrown at you from day to day. You never know what's coming. And it seems like it's becoming more and more. There's so many more associations now that are going up, and so many more problems that go every day. And your governing documents were written 25 years ago. So you've got to figure out how this falls into play with those documents. So it's a learning process every day.
Chris, wrap us up. I know it's a big thing and it's hard to do in the amount of time we gave you, but what would be a short words of wisdom? What do you think was the most important factor in all this? I know it was communication, but maybe there's something else.
Yeah. So again, just really quickly going back to what Dawn said briefly. I think for me, when she mentioned, like the who or what, for me in my communications, if you explain to people, this is a great tip that I learned from another manager. If you put in your communications, mass communications, the who, what, when, where, and why, those 5 W's, that saves so much time and so many headaches because you're laying it all out there for everyone. Secondly, I would probably say, lean in on the professionals, lean in on your insurance, your the more experienced management team. Again, not everyone has gone through this, but they've gone through disasters. Definitely, keep your composure, have that empathy, right? We are not robots, we're human beings, and we feel for people that are going through hard times. And just to be seen is very, very important, and to let people know that you're there to help them, right? Like that's one of the most important things, and be genuine about it, right? Like you really mean it. So yeah, it's definitely, I feel like I can add like explosive crisis management to my resume now. I've learned way more about explosives and planned, blastings than I've ever wanted to know in my entire life.
All right, Chris, I want to know, and the audience wants to know, when is the next blasting? Because we want to be there to watch it from a distance. It was
supposed to be last week, but the developer decided to put it on hold.
Good idea. Chris, I want to thank you so much for being here. Stacy, it was nice to meet you. Stacy, usually we don't have such a big topic, but this was a kind of a strange big event. And I'm so glad that Chris shared it with us. And I appreciate you being here, Stacy. So we definitely want to have you come back and add some more commentary. Dawn, this was a big insurance topic. We could have probably spent 5 hours on it.
Tons of time. We can do everything from the pre-disaster planning all the way to the after, and how we
she's getting all excited now. Yeah. This is like
with that.
It's like an insurance presentation's dream. Chris, you should rent yourself out to be available for insurance presentations.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll see everybody next year. It takes me 6 weeks to do my CAI chapter paperwork and some other stuff. Next year is going to be awesome. Set schedule, different types of live streams, and Stacy and Chris will be back, and Dawn will always be back. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a great day.